Let's get to Patty Lyman. Patty is the state committee woman in Virginia. Patty, I tell you what, you have been an absolute warrior on this election front of what has gone on here, especially in these battleground states, and the fact that we got these feckless governors like Brian Kemp in Georgia, Doug Ducey in Arizona that won't call a special session to get to the bottom of it. But I know you've been on the front lines of this thing and talking to people every day. Patty, what are people saying in the movement?
John, thanks so much for having me, and you're absolutely right. If there has ever been a battle in my lifetime worth fighting, it's this one right now. And as I listened to you talking about Nancy, and let me tell you something. If I have a choice between going to the $250 plate fundraiser or hanging out with a patriot like Nancy, I'd be with Nancy every day and twice on Sunday. She's willing to fight. She's willing to go into that crowd with her sign. I guarantee if her sign had said, I love Georgia or I love Kelly, it would have been perfectly fine. I think, John, what we're seeing over and over again, and it's inexplicable to me, are signals from the Republican Party and the Republican establishment telling the voters that we need so desperately, telling them, just do it. Don't ask any questions. Shut up. Just do it. And you know what? These are hardworking people. I listened last week to people calling in and complaining just about, wait a minute, why aren't these candidates standing up for the president? Why won't they answer my questions? Why are they doing this? And they didn't get an answer, really, except, hey, just get out there and vote. Be quiet. Do you want this horrible thing to happen? Do you want that horrible thing to happen? Everybody's wondering, and this is what I'm wondering too, how much does it cost for those two Senate candidates to full-throatedly say, Governor Kemp, call a special session? Why can't they say that? Why won't they say that? I understand a tepid, oh yes, come on, let's do a session. They ought to be opening. Every speech, every interview, every communication should be opened with, we had a fraudulent election. We need a special session to look at it. The voters deserve better on January 5th than the same system that they just went through. And, John, I don't know why those two candidates will not do it.
I got to tell you, Patty Lyman with us, she's state committee woman, Republican, that's national committee woman from Virginia. You're spot on. And they won't do it because they're listening to their consultants in Washington, D.C., to K Street, to the money people that tell, you can't go there, so just play it lip service just to placate these Trump voters because, at the end of the day, they're going to come out and vote for you anyway, and we really don't want to go there. We don't want to alienate suburban women in Gwinnett County or something. I mean, this is the advice that they're getting. So we get the lip service from them, and they don't mean any of it because they'll say, like we contacted Purdue's office, and they're like, he called for a special session. What, he said it one time and that was the end of it? I mean, like you said, why aren't they demanding it every day? The bottom line is they don't care. They just care about themselves. They're taking the Trump voters for granted. And I said this on my show the other day. It's almost, Patty Lyman, like the deplorables and Trump voters are being treated by the establishment Republicans now the same way African Americans have been treated by the Democratic Party for 5 decades. We come, we want your vote, we make your promises, we don't do crap, and then as soon as it's over, go back into your hole is basically what they tell us. That's what's going on here.
That's exactly what they're doing, and it's almost worse than that because at least in prior decades, the Democrat Party would deliver on certain things. It was never enough, but at least they acted like they cared about their base of voters. Now, the senior leadership in Republican Party and some candidates, they don't even want to act like they care. You know what's really weird about it, John? What's weird is it's as if they think they're on such a tight string by whoever their taskmaster is, whoever's, paying the bills. They're on such a tight string that they're not even allowed to act like they care about the voters. They should have learned a lesson You remember when Bush 41, went into office, and he had told us, "Read my lips, no new taxes." And then, of course, right away went into the office and raised taxes because he thought that would make the Democrats happy, and the Democrats would work with him, and it's going to be great.
Right.
What he did, he turned his he chose people that were never ever going to support him. He chose to please the people who would never support him by turning his back on the people who otherwise would never have left him. It is death in politics, and that's what we're seeing this week. It breaks my heart. Mitch McConnell, his stunts that he pulled last week, I listened to him and I thought, I guess he really hates being Senate Majority Leader because he's trying really hard to lose that job.
I don't understand what they're doing. And the fact that yesterday Nancy would hopefully she'll call in. Nancy, if you're listening to us now, engage here because you're the one that told me you got tossed out with your little sign, and I got a picture of it. It says special session now on one side, and the other side says where's Kemp? Tiny little sign. It's like just a yard sign size, and they toss her out of Ivanka Trump's event, which was open to the public. Unbelievable. I've never seen anything like this, Patty, in my life. And like all Kemp has to do, all the leaders of the General Assembly have to do is call a special session. These 16 electors are going to get overturned. All the evidence comes out. People are going to be shocked by it. They're going to overturn it, and then everything is the other states will fall like a house of cards because it's all the same across all these states, Patty. But they won't do it. And then even more infuriating is both Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue go around and say, yeah, we want a special session. Kemp doesn't call one. Then tonight there's a big fundraiser by Kemp put on for them, $250 a plate. It's like we're really being made out to be fools that we are. That's all lip service. All right, I'm going to go to the phone lines. Patty Lyman with us. Patty is State National Committee woman of Virginia, Republican, RNC. And on the line is Nancy from Atlanta. Nancy, you're on with Patty Lyman and myself. Nancy, you were at the rally yesterday. You called me last night and told me that you got tossed out. What the hell's going on?
Oh, John, I have to tell you, good morning, Patty. It's a pleasure to talk to both of y'all.
Hi, Nancy,
you fired
you're a
me
rock
up.
Star.
Oh, thank you. You fired me up yesterday, John. I already, as you know, went to the rally the night before for Loeffler and Perdue and behaved, and you fired me up yesterday morning, and so I said, I'm going, and I'm taking my signs. And I took my sign. One side said, where is Kemp? The other side said, special session now, Georgia. I kind of hid my sign. I went in, got in the middle of the people, got there early, and they were setting up the stage and everything, and I held my sign up, just like I did at the Linwood rally. I was proud, and people around me were like, yes, where is Kemp? And the crowd was getting a little bit, with me. And they're like, yeah, what's going on with Kemp? And there's such anger towards Kemp. Not 5 minutes into it, boom, here comes the guy. Ma'am, outside signs are not allowed. This is private property. I can either take your sign up and hold it for you at the desk, or you can go put it in your car. I'm like, no, this is America. And I started just walking out with him. I didn't resist. I did walk out, but I did loudly say, they're making me leave because of my signs. What do you guys think about Brian Kemp? And everybody was just like, are you kidding me? So then I stood outside. They kicked me off. I had to get off the total property premises, which turned out to be a good thing because I went out on the street and kind of hung out by the police that were so great and so nice and protecting us. And it just so happened that Kelly Loeffler and Senator Perdue were coming down the sidewalk where I was holding my sign in front of all the cars going by. And I said, hey, Kelly, I'm going to vote for you, but please, you've got to fight for Trump. I said, there's angry deplorables out there. And she just kept walking. She's like, I fought for Trump or something like that. Just totally blew me off. Walked
Lip
on
service.
By. Yeah. Then
Lip
Perdue
service.
walks by, and I go, fight for Trump. And he just gets this squint in his eye. You can just see it even with his mask on, where it just grates his nerves, So anyway,
Patty, what do you think of this, Patty?
Oh, Patty.
This is what I think of it. Nancy is the foundation of our movement. Nancy is why President Trump ran. And Nancy, your tribe is going to increase. We need to pump up the volume. We don't go away. We pump up the volume. Not only should these candidates every day be calling for a special session, in their speeches every day, they should be talking about the abuses that took place on November 5th and 3rd and how important it is to correct them by January 5th. They won't even talk about, you know what? It's like the voters in Georgia are sitting there with a black eye and a bloody nose and their clothes half torn off of them, but nobody will acknowledge that they've been raped. I'm sorry to use that analogy, but that is what was done to the voters in Georgia, and the people that expect you to jump and fetch when they call you, they won't even acknowledge what's been done to you, Nancy.
It is, and I'm the type of person I always just get along. I don't speak up. I go and vote my vote. Most of the time Republican, but sometimes Democrat. And it just infuriated me so much. The golden ticket I have was being born as a U.S. citizen, and I have a vote, and they took that away from me. And they will not be transparent. What are they hiding? What is Kemp hiding? Why, just to let us, just give us money and give us your vote and go away. No, that's not happening. As John says, we are not silent anymore. The silent majority is pissed. We are angry. And I stood there at the end of the rally when hundreds of people were coming out, and they loved my Where is Kemp sign. They were all like, recall him. Where is he? Is he in his basement? I mean, you just wouldn't even believe the anger of the hundreds of people that talked to me on the way out. And I was encouraging them. I said, get a yard sign. We got to make sure these senators get elected. So, I was trying to help, too, with the rally, because I do want them to get elected, and I do want people to go vote for them. We've got to hold the Senate. But they're just tone deaf. They are so tone deaf. I just don't understand it.
It's inexplicable. They say they want to win the seats. It's absolutely inexplicable. What they're doing does not at all match with what they say they want. And I think what we're going to see over time, especially with Kemp and Raffensperger in Georgia, I think as that onion gets peeled, it's going to get really ugly and really smelly. And we're going to figure out why they've done what they've done and why they've refused to do what they've done. Just like in Maricopa County, where we're now defying that subpoena, we're going to end up finding out why they're so terrified to let an honest American look at those machines. We're going to find out things that we wish we didn't know about people, but we have to know them.
Yeah. And back to that caller from Texas, I really appreciated her call about the whistleblowers. One of them is my neighbor's. She's been a neighbor for over 20 years. She runs the voting precinct. She's one of the ladies that testified and did the affidavit, and I'm so proud of her, and knock on wood, nothing's happened to her yet or come into our neighborhood. But, the two of the Fulton County election workers were fired last week. What does Ratzberger do? He comes out and does a public statement, I don't support them being fired. Come on, grow up here, people. These are witnesses. Government whistleblowers are protected. The most important thing we have is an election. Why are not whistleblowers that say, hey, take a look, there's irregularity here, or I saw fraud there? They should have the most protection of all. This is our most sacred right to vote and have a fair election. Why are we not protecting them? Where is Congress? Where's a law to protect these whistleblowers? It's just ridiculous.
Well, you mentioned Congress, Nancy, and that's extremely important. On the plus side, and everyone needs to know this, there is a small earthquake happening up here in Washington, D.C., with one patriot member of Congress after another indicating either publicly or privately that they do support the president, and they are going to be supporting the president on January the 6th. I'm very encouraged by that. I'll tell you that our RNC delegation here in Virginia, our party chair, me and the legendary Morton Blackwell, our committeeman, 2 weeks ago, we put out a very, very strong statement of unequivocal, absolute support for the president and for his fight legally and politically to protect our votes. I have to say, very few delegations have put out a statement like that, but it's time for us to look around us and see who is standing up and see who is not, because one of the most dangerous things you can ever do is mistake an enemy for a friend. and I'm making a list, and I'm checking it twice. And I'm going to remember who's standing up for the president. I'm still confident that we have many paths for him to be inaugurated next month. But, boy, this has been instructive. We found out who our friends really are, and we found out who they're not. But you know what? We can use that information.
Thank you, Patty. Thank you, John.
Patty Lyman, you're so right. And I'm going to say it again, Patty. Our movement now, which is bigger and stronger and ever and growing every day, Patty, it's eclipsed its current batch of leaders. And we've moved beyond them now. And we're exposing it in Georgia. And I'm telling you, Georgia is ground zero. Because if we can get a special session in Georgia, the entire thing will collapse. That's why they're so petrified. They know the fraud is there. They know the evidence is overwhelming. They know the legislature, if they convene, will vote out the 16 Biden electors and vote in Trump's, and then it's going to spread like wildfire to the other states. That's why, Patty, they won't do it. By the way, I need to get to Patty Lyman show on the John Fredericks Radio Network, Patty.
John, you are a wonderful patriot. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Patty. We'll have you back next week. John Frederick, hey, Nancy, thank you for all you do, man. Thank you.